Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Ryan here from IK. We're here with Tech Talks, a new daily live stream from IK Multimedia. We'll be going over some tips and tricks with IK software, and we'll be doing a giveaway at the end of every episode. So stay tuned till the very end, and you might win your own chance to get some IK software. What's going on, guys? I see some more people joining in here. So this week's live stream, we're going to be going over MODO BASS, which is a physically modeled bass plugin. So it's a little bit different than samples. It doesn't take up a whole bunch of space on your computer, and everything you're hearing is being made on the spot. So it's actually a very, very easy way to get a bunch of different sounds without having a huge library. So cool. Everybody go ahead and click that subscribe button. Follow us on social media. This is IK Multimedia. So today we're going to be giving away MODO BASS. That's a $2.99 value, completely free at the end of this episode. Sorry about that. Not too used to being on mic like this, but we'll get started here showing the screen in a second. All right. Thanks for subscribing, guys. All right, cool. So everybody can see my screen here. I've made a performance, which you can see in this little MIDI clip. And it's got a bunch of different unique ways to use MODO BASS. I'm just going to play that for you guys, an example. And you can see everything that's going on. I'm actually going to reload this plugin, or preset, sorry. As you can see, there's a bunch of different presets to select once you get the actual plugin. So if you're not well versed at creating your own presets, you can use these to get started. All right, so let's make this a little bit bigger. I'm just going to play back so you guys can hear everything. All right, so you can hear there's a bunch of stuff going on with MODO BASS. I have the default patch loaded up right here, and I'm going to play that for you. So you can hear the big difference between those two, and that's because I went really far with this plugin and kind of went a little bit extra, kind of thinking like a bass player. And if you notice, there's a little bit more on this track than just MODO BASS, which is cool. You can route it elsewhere. And the way I did that is the amp effects page has a DI out. I'm going to use that mainly. The amp in here is great. It's modeled similarly to our amplitude stuff. You get a tube and a solid state. But just for today, I'm going to show you going a little bit extra. Awesome. Glad you guys can hear everything. So if you guys do own MODO BASS, just go ahead and stay tuned. You're going to see a couple of different unique tricks in this video. So go ahead and play that back one more time, and I'm going to show you in the playstyle page where there's some muting going on, how I did it. Watch the pluck position, the mute, and really look at this fretboard, because when you play the notes, and I'll show you the main MODO BASS screen, you can play the notes and see them like a real bass player, and that's really important to making a real unique performance, because a bass player is never going to switch strings, kind of how I did right there. You might just keep going up the E. That's all on the bass player, though. So here, let's move in here. So I see. On. So let's start with this model page. So I picked the P bass just because I like the tone. And notice this right here. can really hear how that changes everything as you move up and down. It gets much thinner as you get over here, and it gets a little fatter as you get right there where a bass player would traditionally play. So another thing we did here is actually go and change the play style, which is this is insane. So check this out. The stroke is alternative, which means each time you play, it's going to be a different finger. Now it's playing just the index finger, just middle. And it's kind of hard to hear when you're just going 1, 2, 3, 4. But when you get into a more exaggerated performance, it really helps make things stick out like they would in real life. You can hear each finger does have its own unique sound. So I brought the touch down, made it soft. But you can hear that makes a pretty big jump. So I really like soft, and this fingering position is more for when you're not manually writing stuff in and you're performing. But it's going to take the first position, which it's going to try to play here on the bass. We can make it a little bit easier, and when I move up here, it's going to reach for wherever is closest instead of trying to go to the open or the first position. And you see open strings. That's really about, does it reach for an open string when it can? You can see it just went to A there. And without it on, it actually goes to the other thing. Here, let me move this down here. Can you guys see that all right? And yes, this is Ableton Live, Fernando. It's one of my favorite DAWs. I like the way you can really create MIDI in it. So let's go ahead. We'll move over to the strings section. So you're going to see a bunch of things here. And one of my favorite things, if you're a metal guy, you can add a couple of strings, 6 string. You can turn drop D on. Gives you that low note. So if we're on 4 strings, I can't hit the bottom D until I enable that. Nice and big. So I actually used 4 strings here. And I used, let me see, standard round wound, and I actually kind of kept it simple here and used all these straight across. But let me just play a couple examples. So you can really hear that kind of rounded the tone out. So the gauge is pretty intense. I like a heavy gauge. I thought I would like a lighter gauge, but honestly, it just helps this kind of push through the mix, and it sounds more natural to me. I used to really think I liked new strings, but like some bass players know, the age really gives some character. So I'll play some examples for you here. Let's move this back down. So you can hear new is really bright. It's a little bit of a subtle change, like most bass players know. It's not going to make or break your bass. So inside here, I'm going to just do some unique, weird things just so you could see what you can do. I didn't do anything too intense for this preset, though. So check this out. You can hear that really thin out. So normally leave that in the middle, and you can actually type a value if you know your bass. So one of the things I really like to do is make my circuitry active, which you can't really do this easily in the real world. So check this out. So there is no option to change the brand of strings. That's unique. But you can option to randomize. As it plays, it's actually similar to how round robin works. You're never going to hear the same sound, and that's a benefit of the modeling that's going on here. So let's see. This piezo pickup is actually really cool to add some natural sound. So check this. Love that little control. You could dial it back if it's too much, but it gives some beef with the active, and then you bring it back down with the piezo. And you notice here you can change through all these pickups. They all have their own unique character, so you definitely want to mess around and see what's the best for you. Keep running through. So you can really hear the change there. And you do have a bridge or a neck, and you can move these around freely. You can make a Franken bass. I know a lot of people just want to go crazy. Doesn't sound too bad. Not something I would do, but you can really go crazy with this page. And you notice all the specs from the other pages are here. You can hide those, make it look nice and pretty if you're familiar. So that just shows here, over here, and over here. And those for just tuning in, we're going to be giving away a copy of MODO Bass at the end, so stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe, everybody. So let's see. Let's keep moving. So we have this amp effects page, and I didn't use it too much, but let me show you what you guys have. So I'll just play a couple of notes. Turn that DI completely. You can really hear that beefy tube tone. It's a little bit compressed, and the DI signal will be affected by that stuff. I personally don't use too much compression, but you also have these tools if you want to like boost your 400. Maybe cut that just to see how it sounds. And you can mess around with all of these by also clicking here. You have the on and off, the bypass, and all the individual controls, and then it masters it all over here. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to check out the most intense page here, which is my favorite. I'm going to load the preset that I had from before, just so you can kind of hear it. I'll go through the page just so whoever owns MODO Bass, if you want to recreate this. And you see it's only DI there. Okay, so what I have here is all different ways to use the bass. And I know this is a smaller page, so I'm going to see if I can make this bigger. Let me know if you guys can see that okay. Okay, cool. So those of you just joining in, we're going to be giving away MODO Bass at the end of this stream. Make sure to jump in the conversation now. Stay tuned till the end. Like and subscribe, everybody. If you don't win today, I do want to use this time to let you guys all know that we do have the spring string sale. That's up to 50% off. Amplitude Collections, Sample Tank 4, Miroslav 2, and MODO Bass. So you still can grab MODO Bass at a nice hefty discount. All right, so I'm going to take a look here. I'm going to give you an example. I set up some keys on my controller. I'm going to show you my favorite is the 4th string, And that's going to force the player to pick something. And I'm going to switch pages so you can see it. So check this out. Right, you saw me switch over to the A string there, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to go ahead and lock the E string. So you can see right there. One of my favorite things. All right, so we'll switch over. I also have force A string. So you can see everything sticks on that string. That's what the 4 strings are going to be doing. And I'm going to show you right here. They're set to E0 and A0. You can access them right there. When you click them on screen, they will work. But you can set any of these to a control change, to a key switch, and you can MIDI learn all of these. So what I like to do is a key switch outside of the range of the instrument, and I've set up my IK Keys IO to have my pads trigger these different modes. So look here, you have a latch control if you just want it to work permanently. Check that out. So now it's latched. I don't need to reach for anything. All right, that one's really useful to use with this hammer-on pull-off mode, which as a bass player, everybody knows that's one of everybody's favorite things to do on a stringed instrument. Sit there forever and just tweedle around with 2 notes. So let's go ahead and show that. You can hear it kind of hammer on and then pull off. Right? So it sounds much more pleasing in context, and I did show it off in the example actually, which let me play you back that one more time. Those of you might have missed this at the beginning. Play that one more time and show you the MODO Bass screen so you could see he plays the fretboard properly, and that's because I'm forcing the strings here, and you're going to see the hammer-on pull-off light up there. Okay, so you could see all of that happening here, and you can see it all happening over there. And that's the way I would play that blues note. I would never sit on it. I'd kind of just roll off of it. And that's what I had the bass player do there. So you notice let ring was also going off there. I'm going to show you how that works. And it's similar to piano. I enabled it on my keyboard. So similar to a sustain pedal. And let me turn that mute down. Okay, there we go. One more time. And you can turn it off as you go, and that's something that gives you that detached noise, and that's really cool for me. I normally keep it at like 3, but sometimes I'll turn it up depending on the performance if I really want it to be exaggerated. And if you see this white key, use that with your detached noise. That's going to be your ghost note. Everybody loves the ghost note. My favorite go-to right there when I'm writing a slap performance, which is actually really easy to do if you set up the auto with the velocity threshold. So if I hit it quiet, it's going to do one articulation, and if I hit it hard, it's going to do another. So here, let me load up another bass just so you can hear it. I like this imperial bass. Here, that's a little bit harsh with just that DI, so. twangy. Personally, I like to keep my bass at a normal level because it's a bass, it's gonna be bassy. And sometimes I'll boost the mids or sometimes I'll cut them. Usually I'll boost them if it's like a slap performance or something you want to stick out past everything. Cut it if you want it to hide out behind the guitars. And just like on most amp pegs, you can switch the mid frequency. Cool. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off this cam for now, since it's pretty unrelated. Alright, so let's see. We have a couple more minutes here. I want to take a couple of questions, see what you guys want to see in the next coming weeks, what you guys thought about MODO Bass and what you guys think about seeing in the future. And here, while the questions roll in, I'm going to go ahead and just play back that original performance. Some of you guys might have missed it, and I'm going to show you guys this whole chain. Just for anybody interested, you can see I went a little bit in depth past MODO Bass, and that's one of the coolest things that you can do with virtual instruments is make an entire virtual chain that just sounds beefy and powerful. Okay, I see a couple of questions. So, how do you program the MIDI tracks? Well, you can actually record it with your MIDI controller, or what I personally like to do is manually write it in. And I'll show you some of the stuff that I've manually written in here so you can see. This whole part is on the muted section, and I'm kind of varying the mute as you go. You can see it's set to control change 8. And that gives it a little bit more life for me. You can kind of hear it opens up a little bit, and that lets go of the string like a real bass player would. Your palm wouldn't sit perfectly in real time. Let's go through here. This is our pluck position, which I've done a little bit unique, but I wanted to have these open strings played nice and fat and have these a little bit thin. And then for this whole section, that's the similar concept that I went with. I wanted to really have it breathe and live like a real bass would in the mix. Okay, I see a couple more questions. MODO Bass does include the pedals. It does include the amp. It gives you 2 sections for the amp and a bunch of different stomp pedals. Just for you, I'll open this guy up and show you some of the options. So there's your tube, your solid state, and you can see this looks similar to a B15 flip top. This is more of a rock SVT kind of sound. You got the graphic EQ limiter built on board. And then if you click here, you'll see your pedal board, and these are all of your options. So pretty much anything your bass player would really reach for. Unfortunately, MIDI is not included. You don't get any grooves, but Sample Tank 4 does have some pretty cool ones that you can tailor to MODO Bass. Personally, I like to write everything out. This whole performance here was written out manually. I did play a little bit on the keys, and then from there kind of dial it in. Give you another example. let's see, so 16 is going to be hammer on pull off. You can see how that just hits for those two notes, that blues note right there. So I'll play it so you can hear it. And you hear it, let ring is in these two notes. So it is living naturally in my space. So gotta remember that if you are using MODO Bass, all of these intricate controls can easily be skewed by a rogue MIDI file. So if you ever have any issues, I've seen people with pitch issues, make sure your MIDI control is set properly. If you're using something like the slide, I always suggest a pitch wheel, which is going to always revert back to 0. I'll show you how that sounds. Little natural slide all the way down. You can hear that naturally just go the course all the way up and down the neck. You can have a bend set similarly, and that's going to have a nice effect. It's going to go just as far as you can with the actual bass. Let me show you the slide range a little bit lower, something like that. So something there. When you do have a MIDI controller with you, definitely take advantage of these CCs. And if you don't, you can assign them in your DAW. And pretty much every DAW can do what Ableton's doing right here. And this is just MIDI control automation. You can see this is my pluck position. And pretty much throughout the performance, I range these things, and I make sure it kind of sounds natural, like somebody would be playing it on the bass. You see my muting goes up there. Changing different articulations is important in getting a different sound. Awesome. So it's we got started a little bit late, but I think we can wrap it up here. Let's go ahead and give away a free copy of MODO Bass to whoever's willing to answer this next question. Okay, so let's hear what trick you guys use when recording, writing, or editing bass. If you don't record bass often, just tell us concepts you've heard online. Let's let a couple of answers roll in there, and we'll get somebody from our social team to pick a winner. Ooh, a new question. So to send to an amplifier, where should the DI be? I like to set it to 6, but you can push the input on the amp a little bit. Think of it similar to how you would be plugging your bass straight in. The DI. Personally, that seems to be the way to go. When you have a bass in your hand, you can just always come back, edit things. Yes, the video will remain later, so you guys can check in. And if we miss any questions, please, guys, throw a comment in there after the video is live. We're more than happy to jump in, see what we can do to answer. And if you have any suggestions for future weeks, please feel free to throw them in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. DI with some compression. Interesting. I wondered I'm probably a little bit late in here with my live video, but keys help a lot. Interesting. You can change audio to MIDI in some DAWs. Ableton is great with it. It varies. Sometimes it's hit or miss. What I like to do is if I have an acoustically recorded bass, I'll send it to the audio to MIDI converter, and I'll use that for a sub and just super simplify it. The IK compressors. I got the black 76 hitting a little bit hard with the black bass preset. I tweaked it slightly. You'll see in my EQ I roll off at 30, roll off at 6.68. It's kind of just to make sure only what I want gets through, nothing extra. A little bit of a bump there at 60. Duck down at 144 for the mud. And then you got the 215 boost to give a little bit of clarity. All right, looks like we have a winner. Congrats. I don't want to murder that name, but Lexandalif, congratulations on your free copy of MODO Bass. You're ready to start with your new bass player. And you can go back through this tutorial, watch everything that it did. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to help. Guys, don't forget our support team is a little bit swamped right now, but they're more than happy to help you guys. We're still open. We're still pushing hard to get everything running just as normal. We hope everybody here is staying safe and healthy. All right, guys, so I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want you guys to stay tuned tomorrow at 4 p.m. for D-Flow's Audio Toolbox. He's going to be going over some mixing and production tips with Supa Dups. If you guys aren't familiar, he's a great producer. Check him out. Look up his discography. I guarantee you've seen or definitely heard some of his mixes. He's been around for a pretty decent amount of time, and he's made some great music. Check him out. 4 p.m. tomorrow, D-Flow's Audio Toolbox. We also do have a live stream every single day, so stay tuned. After D-Flow's tomorrow, we're going to be continuing for the rest of the week on Instagram Live, so make sure to like us there, follow, and stay tuned. All right, we hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Thank you guys for the continued support and tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe. If you didn't win today, check out the promos page. Spring Strings up to 50% off on MODO Bass. Amplitude Collections and Miroslav Philharmonic 2. Check it out. Thanks again for watching, guys.